Hello Raptors fans, and welcome back to another episode of Raptors Overtime. My name is Vincent, and I will be breaking down and reacting to the Toronto Raptors 126-110 win against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before we get into the game action, let's start off with an injury report. Toronto will be without the services of Kyle Lowry due to a thigh injury for the fourth game in a row. The last time he played was against the Golden State Warriors, and in the span of games since he has been out, the Raptors are 1-2. JV will also be held out of the game due to a thumb injury he sustained against the Warriors. Ibaka was out for his second game in a row, and Danny Green also missed game action tonight. The Cavaliers come into this game after losing at Charlotte and have a record of 8-24 on the season. So by no stretch of the imagination is this Cleveland team in the upper echelon of the NBA. The Raptors have been experiencing a much different season and come in off their thrilling comeback victory against the Indiana Pacers. The Raptors have had a rather great start to the season despite facing a difficult stretch in the past 2 weeks due to injuries. Alright, with that out of the way, let's dive right into the game. The starting lineup for the Toronto Raptors tonight looked a little different as they were missing 3 of their regular starters. Van Vliet was in at point guard for Kyle Lowry, Wright started at the 2 spot for Danny Green, Leonard retained his spot at small forward, OG started at the 4 spot, and Pascal slid over to the 5. CJ was previously the player that Coach Nurse would slide into the starting unit. However, due to his poor shooting performances so far this season, I think it was a wise decision to put OG into the starting unit to see what he can provide. CJ isn't really a top-notch defender and was brought in for his sharpshooting abilities in the trade with the Pacers for Corey Joseph. So if his shot isn't falling, he isn't contributing a whole lot to this team. With OG inserted into this lineup, even if he doesn't knock down threes at a great rate, it isn't going to be any worse than CJ's percentage this year. And the upside is that OG will give it to you on the defensive end. Just for reference, OG is shooting it slightly better than CJ Miles this year with a 3-point percentage of 31% compared to CJ's 30%. Also, with the combination of Wright, Leonard, OG, and Siakam, this is an excellent defensive lineup and gets me excited about their potential on the defensive end with all of their length and athleticism. So how did these starters do tonight? Let's start with Steady Freddy, who scored 14 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and dished out 8 assists. On the defensive end of the floor, Van Vliet gave the Raptors 2 steals and a block, and I would say he had another solid game, filling in admirably for Kyle Lowry. DeLon Wright played almost 33 minutes tonight and finished with 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. He didn't have a great statistical night, finishing 3 of 9 from the field on the offensive end, but he played solid defense tonight. Kawhi Leonard. Wow, what a player. He can add another great game to his resume in a Raptors uniform. The Claw finished with 37 points, which matches his season high on an efficient 12 of 16 shooting from the field and 2 of 4 from 3-point range. He also had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. There didn't seem to be a way for the Cavaliers to stop him tonight, as he was just too strong for them. He had at least 4 and 1 plays tonight where he showed his strength and body control and took advantage by making 11 of his 12 trips to the charity stripe. Without a doubt, Kawhi Leonard was the MVP tonight once again. OG got the start tonight and had an impressive showing. This young man ended up with 21 points on an efficient 9 of 14 shooting and hit 3 of his 7 attempted 3-pointers. OG also had 8 rebounds and 1 block with 5 personal fouls, all within the span of only 22 minutes of playing time. Let me repeat that. He did all of that within only 22 minutes. 21 points, and 8 rebounds. I think this was one of the better performances that OG has had this season, despite getting into foul trouble, and who can forget his thunderous dunk in the 4th quarter to put an exclamation point on his night. Finally, we get to Pascal Siakam, who played over 37 minutes tonight and contributed a double-double. Pascal scored 15 points, had 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. He was great on the offensive boards with 5 and played a solid game tonight on the defensive end. Once again, we see just how valuable he is to this Toronto Raptors team and is showing why he is in the conversation for Most Improved Player of the Year. With the starters done, let's get to the Raptors bench unit. Powell played in his second game back from injury and had a good game tonight with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. Norm shot 5 of 7 from the field, but 0 of 2 from three-point range. The Raptors are searching for some contribution on the wing from the bench, and Powell delivered tonight. Great to see he is picking up where he left off from earlier this season before his injury. I'm a huge fan of Powell, especially after his series-altering playoff performances against the Pacers and Bucks in seasons past. So I'll definitely be rooting for him to stay healthy. On the other end of the spectrum tonight, we had CJ Miles, who continues to struggle with his shot. He only had 2 points to go with his 2 rebounds and shot 1 of 6 from the field, and more importantly, 0 of 5 from three-point range. CJ has had a career 3-point field goal percentage of 36%, so his 30% for the season can definitely be seen as an underperformance. I really like CJ, and he has provided a valuable veteran presence to the bench mob last season, but he continues to shoot poorly, and if he does, he's going to fall further down the Raptors' depth chart. Whatever is causing his performance to suffer this season, I hope he is able to find a solution. He's just too good of a shooter to be in such a rut. If he is able to find his touch again this season, it will provide valuable spacing for this Raptors team, and it will make this team even scarier than it already is. Greg Monroe was brought onto this Raptors team initially as a backup 5. However, with the way that Nick Nurse has been staggering JV and Ibaka's minutes, Monroe hasn't really had a chance to play much this season. However, the move to bring him in looks to have paid off so far with so many injuries this season, and he has provided some solid minutes at the 5 spot for this Raptors team. Tonight he played 14 minutes off the bench and had 9 points and 3 rebounds. Finally, Lorenzo Brown was the only other player to get significant time off the bench, and he finished with 7 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, and 3 steals. In his limited playing time, I think that Brown had a decent game. One thing that stood out to me during this game, especially if we look at the box score, was the third and fourth quarters. The Raptors scored 40 points in the frame. However, more importantly, they gave up 41 points to the Cavaliers. That's an impressive offensive performance by the Raptors, but on the defensive end, not so much. These are the 8-25 Cavaliers. They aren't the same team that met up with Golden State last season in the finals. They don't even have Kevin Love in the lineup, so there are definitely things that can be tweaked on the defensive end by the Raptors. Luckily, they were able to hold the Cavs to a more reasonable 17 points in the fourth quarter to secure the win. Consistency on the defensive end hasn't been there this season, and that has a lot to do with all the injuries that the Raptors have suffered. But the good news is that they have shown flashes of their potential on the defensive side. Luckily, they have some additional rest over the Christmas holidays and hopefully can get some key players back into the rotation and build off the success they have experienced up until this point in the season. There's still a long ways to go for this team, as they haven't even come close to touching their ceiling. Fortunately, with so much of the season left to play, Raptors fans have plenty of time left to see what this team can really do. Moving forward, the Raptors will play their second game of a back-to-back in Philadelphia on Saturday and will square off against the 76ers for a third time this season. The Raptors have owned the series so far, winning both games by 10-plus points. According to head coach Nick Nurse, we may see the return of both Danny Green and Kyle Lowry. However, Kawhi Leonard will sit this game out, just as he has done for every back-to-back so far this season. Toronto doesn't play again until Boxing Day on December 26th. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I hope to catch you all on the next episode of Raptors Overtime.